Well, the excitement is really starting to build online because there's a lot of expectations for the month of September to have quite a few game announcements, big time reveals, as we're expecting Nintendo and Sony to have some sort of events this month, like a state of play from Sony and a general direct from Nintendo. And there's also Tokyo Game Show thrown in there, so we'll have some cool stuff there as well. But I wanted to spend today, Saturday, kind of talking about some of the rumors that have popped up here, as it's certainly something that's caught my eye because the GameCube is coming up quite a bit. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to hit that like button, helps it a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. So I'll still talk about rumors and different leaks and stuff throughout the week in Newswave. But today, I just wanted to kind of have a more laid-back video talking about, I guess, something that people are just starting to expect now for this direct, which actually will generally lead to disappointment. But again, I thought we'd have some fun here with this video. So essentially, it sounds like Nintendo could be looking towards the GameCube generation for different remasters or even remakes to pull from. Now, the interesting thing about that generation is it was like right before we had this big HD push from Microsoft and Sony, and those consoles could still do, like for the GameCube, progressive scan. The Xbox and PS2 would do up to like 1080i for some games. So we were like right there, which means that some of those games can dress up pretty nicely still even. Of course, you would want to put a bit more work into it if you wanted to pull off something that looks substantially better. But you could still do remasters, move them up, and they'll fit in well enough. So when I start seeing stuff like this pop up, just as an example, we have over on Twitter, this was from Liam, who said, we're going to do a lot of winning this month, GameCube Nation. I had posted up a video of that modification I did on my GameCube system where I hooked up the Bluetooth board inside and I could turn the GameCube on with like a PlayStation 5 controller, like remotely powered on, which is really cool. And Liam, of course, commented saying that we are going to be doing a lot of winning here soon because the GameCube keeps winning. Now, next to that, we also have Emily Rogers essentially like spelling it out over on Famaboards, where she says, no, it's true, Nintendo is going crazy with remasters and remakes. Most of the remasters mentioned in this thread are either in development or under serious consideration at Nintendo. There's a lot of talk about GameCube games in that thread. That's like one of the biggest takeaways there. And I also noticed that Nate keeps like hinting towards GameCube stuff. Specifically, he's doing a very poor job of being vague, but he seems to be poking at FZero. And I know there were rumors. Well, there have been rumors about FZero for a long time now. If you remember, we had that investor who spent like $40,000 or something to go up and ask a question to Furukawa, Miyamoto, and all of them. And basically, it was bringing up all these older intellectual properties. And one of them was FZero. One of them was like Baten Kaitos and stuff. And apparently, based on some reports, people who were actually there, there was some smiling going on, some smirking from some of the higher-ups at Nintendo as these intellectual properties were brought up. Now, it could just be like some nostalgia, like, oh, yeah, that would be pretty cool if we did that. Could also be, yeah, give us a few months. We'll see where we are then. So, hey, you know what? If they can't come up with something to do with FZero, go ahead and do a remaster of GX, add online, and drop it on the Switch. And I think people will be happy, although there, of course, will be, I'm sure, arguments and pushback around a $60 price tag for that, because I think Nintendo will be looking for that full price mark on some of these games. So that'll be an interesting bridge to cross when we get there. I also noticed Nick was getting in on this. Special Nick over on Twitter. He's from Xbox Era, but he tends to put out a lot of rumors and different things quite frequently. Sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong. So this one was interesting because he has the two snakes, and of course everyone starts wondering if he's talking about Metal Gear Solid, and then they're also wondering if he's talking about Twin Snakes, which would be kind of weird. we know, or at least we believe, that Konami is actually going to do something good this month, whether it is at Tokyo Game Show, at Sony's event, or who knows, maybe at Nintendo's event, where they reveal that they are doing remasters of Metal Gear Solid, being 1 through 3. At least that's the word going around right now. Twin Snakes would be an odd one, although I guess they could pull from Twin Snakes and drop it into a collection with 2 and 3, and it would fit in better because they use the controls from Metal Gear Solid 2 and like that whole setup in Twin Snakes, whereas with Metal Gear Solid 1 from the PS1 didn't really control like that. Although there were some frustrations because it did kind of work to break parts of the game by just inserting these controls and everything into it. Also, I'm curious what they would do about the Mario and Yoshi that's in that office building you can just find on a desk. Maybe they just kind of remove them. Anyway, that's if that is what Nick is actually alluding towards here. Could just be Snakes in general, like, oh yeah, get ready, Snake is coming back because Konami is going to do a full remaster of the Metal Gear Solid series, and apparently Metal Gear 1 and 2 from the MSX. That'd be a pretty solid collection, I would say. And there are a few ways you can look at this. I think this would be cool to see as ways to fill in the gaps throughout the year. As we know, game development is just taking longer and longer and longer to do. I mean, look at Breath of the Wild 2. We thought this was going to be something where it would be a quicker turnaround time because we figured they were going to pull from just Breath of the Wild and make that development time a bit faster, but still ongoing. And I think that even though we see Nintendo put out these smaller games, these big titles, they take a while, and that's just industry-wide at this point. So realistically, if you can go back and do a remaster or remake of games that people have not played, I think it's a good move by any of these companies, even though there will be people who have played the game and they're like, well, I don't really want to buy this again. There are several people who have not played these games. I mean, to think that the GameCube sold less than 30 million systems by a wide margin there. And then now we have the Switch with like cruising towards that 120 million mark. No sweat. Yeah, a bit of a disparity there. A lot of people could be introduced some pretty cool, at least interesting and unique games from that generation. That's still like my favorite generation in gaming. I mean, the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox era, I think is still untouched. I know the 360 and the PS3 were in the way, sure, but we're kind of close because we really broke onto the online scene. But I don't know. There's a lot of magic in that GameCube, Xbox, PS2 generation. But like they could even test the waters for some properties to see if there's any interest. Like what if they did like Bot and Kaitos and they threw 2 of the games into a collection and just see what happens at $40? Them and Namco or Bandai figure that one out. That's a possibility. They could go back, of course, with FZero and just test the waters there and see if maybe people really do want a new FZero game and they're willing to pick up something like GX with some improved features. And we hear about Metroid Prime. That people seem... I had talked to Jeff Grubb on his show yesterday, and he seemed so sure that this thing was coming. So, like, Metroid Prime getting the remaster, remake, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, I think treatment is a good way to compare it. Again, will be a nice barometer to see if these GameCube games can still sell now. And you know what? I believe they can. And in some ways would work to introduce some of these more dormant franchises like Metroid Prime 4. People are going to look at that and be like, I didn't play the other 3. And it's still up to Nintendo to get 2 and 3 to the Switch in time if they want to, but at least getting people started with that first one is a good move. Now, I understand I'm a bit biased when it comes to the GameCube because I really like that system, but there are some genuinely cool games from there, like Kirby's Air Ride. I know it's another racing game, but it's such a unique and different racing game that would be really cool to have on the system. I think Eternal Darkness was very unique as well in some of the stuff that it did that would probably freak people out. Could you imagine if Eternal Darkness existed now and one of the things they did was make it look like your Switch when it comes out of sleep mode or something to get back into the game? The screen was just broken, like on your Switch. Just they put up like a picture of it to make it look that way. Eternal Darkness did some very weird things on the GameCube. They made you think your save game was deleted or that you were playing the demo of the game. Like I said, they were they were thinking very much out of the box for that one. And this might be an unpopular opinion, but I would be curious to see how something like Star Fox Adventures would do with today's audience, an audience that isn't as familiar with the franchise. I mean, let's face it, after Star Fox Zero, it definitely is something that kind of went on the back burner for Nintendo, I would say. I know we had it in Starlink, but it felt kind of like it was part that was just sort of tacked on and not something that went all in with for the game, right? So Star Fox Adventures is very different, and I know it wasn't originally a Star Fox game and they just kind of morphed it into one, but I went back and checked it out on the GameCube like a week or two ago, and I think it still looks good enough, and it was 60 frames per second, that they could bring it up, do some remastering work, and maybe play around with things like the HUD and some of the controls, and I feel like it would actually fit in okay, at least to see if maybe Star Fox could be something other than an on-rails flying shooting game. I know that is something that not all the Star Fox fans want, but I don't know, it'd be interesting to see how the current generation would react to something like that. Now, the one thing I will admit here is if Nintendo goes down this route of exploring that library for remasters and remakes, it would probably take the GameCube library off the table for any type of Nintendo Switch Online Edition for quite some time, considering they would rather remaster them and then sell them at like $40 to $60 rather than just drop them in slowly to a service each month that they'd probably have to raise the price on. Like, if they had to raise the price for Nintendo 64 and Genesis, it would have to go up, I assume, in their mind. For Nintendo, we're thinking about how they would do it. Again, so maybe it does go up to like $100 a year or something, and then they start dropping in GameCube games, you know, when they feel like it. I kind of would like to have the box art and everything, though, like a full physical release for some of these games on the Switch from the GameCube era. It would be pretty cool to have in the collection, so I kind of think I'd rather them go that route for now, rather than just start dropping in these games to Nintendo Switch Online as additions through sometimes shoddy emulation, we'll say. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below. I'm very curious what people's thoughts are on Nintendo potentially going to the GameCube generation for remasters or remakes. From what I can tell, just kind of poking around, I didn't want to find out too much because, well, one, I wanted to make this video and kind of speculate about it, but two, I do genuinely want to be surprised somewhat with what they come up with and pull from that generation. But from my understanding, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, while those are on the GameCube, I understand they've also been on the Wii U. That seems to be something that's poised to be announced, I assume, as like a double pack. Metroid Prime, and then FZero keeps getting brought up. So I guess that's 3, but what if they did another one? What would you want them to announce in this direct from that generation? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.